Listen, I'm about to save you thousands of dollars and years of headaches, while your neighbor is crying over his BMW repair bill that costs more than your rent. You could be cruising in one of these 5 legendary machines that just won't die. We're talking cars so reliable, mechanics get depressed when they see them because they know you won't be back for another 5 years. And here's the kicker: you can get into any of these for less than a used iPhone costs these days. Sounds too good to be true? Stick around, because number 3 on this list has over 300,000 miles and is still going strong. But before we dive in, do me a quick favor. If you're serious about saving money on cars and avoiding expensive mistakes, hit that subscribe button right now and turn on notifications. Trust me, the tips coming in this video alone could save you thousands, and there's way more where this came from. All right, let's get into it.
All right, kicking things off with a car that gets absolutely roasted online. But here's the plot twist. Those same people who make fun of it, they're the ones broken down on the side of the road while Aveo owners are laughing all the way to the bank. The Chevrolet Aveo. And yes, I can already hear the keyboard warriors typing angry comments. But hear me out, because this little underdog has a secret superpower. Now, let me paint you a picture. It's 2007, gas prices are climbing faster than your anxiety on a Monday morning, and Chevy drops this Korean-built compact car that looks like, well, let's be honest, it looks like a potato on wheels. But you know what? That potato is going to outlast half the premium cars from that era, and I've got the receipts to prove it. Here's what nobody tells you about the Aveo. Under that humble exterior, you've got one of the most bulletproof engine setups in the budget car world. The 1.6-liter 4-cylinder engine in this thing is essentially engineered, torture-tested Korean reliability wrapped in an American badge. We're talking about the same DNA that powers Daewoo vehicles that rack up insane mileage in taxi fleets across Asia. These engines don't just run, they run forever. I'm talking 200,000, 250,000, sometimes pushing 300,000 miles with nothing more than regular oil changes and the occasional timing belt replacement. And speaking of that timing belt, here's your first critical checkpoint. The Aveo has an interference engine, which means if that timing belt snaps, you're looking at catastrophic engine damage. But here's the good news. It's a scheduled maintenance item in around 60,000 miles, and if the previous owner has the receipt showing it was done, you're golden. If they don't, budget about $400 to $600 to get it done immediately. And trust me, that's money well spent, because after that, you're set for another 60,000 miles of worry-free driving. Now, let's talk money, because that's why you're here, right? You can find a decent Aveo right now for anywhere between $2,500 to $5,000 depending on mileage and condition. That's less than a decent laptop. And here's where it gets even better. Insurance? Dirt cheap. We're talking liability coverage that won't even make you flinch. Parts? Everywhere and affordable because these sold by the truckload. And fuel economy? You're looking at 27 city, 35 highway. In today's world, where people are taking out loans just to fill up their tanks, the Aveo is sipping gas like a sophisticated tea drinker at an English garden party. But I know what you're thinking. It can't be all sunshine and rainbows. And you're right. Let me give you the real talk about what to watch out for. First up, the automatic transmission. The 5-speed auto in these can be a bit fragile if it wasn't maintained properly. When you're test driving, pay attention to how it shifts. Any slipping, hard shifts, or weird delays between gears, walk away. The manual transmission, on the other hand, is virtually indestructible. If you can drive stick, get the manual. Your future self will thank you. Second point of attention, rust. Especially if you're looking at Aveos from the Rust Belt states or anywhere they salt the roads in winter. Check the wheel wells, underneath the doors, and the rear quarter panels. Surface rust? Not ideal, but manageable. Structural rust eating through metal? Run. And here's a pro tip. Pop the trunk and lift up the spare tire. If there's rust under there, it's been sitting in water, and that's a massive red flag. Third thing, and this is important, check the engine for oil leaks around the valve cover gasket. It's a common wear item on these, and while it's not expensive to fix, it tells you how well the car was maintained. A small seep? That's normal for a car this age. Oil pooling everywhere? That owner didn't care, and who knows what else they ignored. Here's what makes the Aveo absolutely brilliant for someone on a tight budget. It's so simple, so basic that there's almost nothing to break. No complicated electronics, no fancy turbochargers, no dual clutch transmissions that cost $5,000 to replace. It's just a straightforward, honest little car that starts every single morning and gets you where you need to go. And in a world where new cars have 17 different computers that can all fail independently, that simplicity is worth its weight in gold. I've met Uber drivers who've put 250,000 miles on these things, pizza delivery drivers who treat them like absolute garbage and they just keep going, college students who forget oil changes exist and somehow the Aveo forgives them. This car has earned its reputation in the trenches of real-world abuse. So, here's the bottom line. Is the Aveo going to turn heads? Absolutely not, unless someone is wondering why that car from 2008 still looks showroom fresh. Will it win any performance awards? Only if the award is for most likely to still be running in 2040. But will it save you an absolute fortune while being completely dependable? 100% yes. And sometimes, especially when money's tight, boring and reliable beats exciting and broken every single time. The Aveo isn't trying to be something it's not. It's not pretending to be a luxury car, it's not trying to be sporty, and it definitely isn't winning any beauty contests. But what it is honest, dependable, and cheaper to own than pretty much anything else with 4 wheels and an engine. And honestly, in today's economy, that makes it kind of a hero.
Now, if the Aveo is the humble hero, what I'm about to show you next is the absolute legend that literally cannot be killed. I'm talking about the truck that Top Gear tried to destroy and failed spectacularly. They drowned it in the ocean, set it on fire, dropped a caravan on it, placed it on top of a building they were demolishing, and you know what happened? It still started. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Toyota Hilux, the truck that's so tough it's become the unofficial vehicle of, well, let's just say some very demanding work environments around the globe. Here's something wild that'll blow your mind. While Americans were buying Tacomas, the rest of the world got the Hilux, and honestly, they got the better deal. This thing is the cockroach of the automotive world, and I mean that as the highest compliment possible. If there's ever an apocalypse, there will be 2 things left standing: Keith Richards and a diesel Hilux with 400,000 miles on the clock, still ready to haul whatever's left of civilization. Let's talk about what makes this truck an absolute weapon of reliability. The engine options during this era are where Toyota basically said, let's engineer something so overbuilt it'll outlast the heat death of the universe. You've got the 2.5-liter and 3.0-liter turbo diesel engines that are essentially industrial equipment with a truck built around them. These power plants are the same basic design that's been proven in the harshest conditions imaginable. We're talking Sahara Desert heat, Arctic Circle cold, Australian outback dust storms, and construction sites where abuse isn't occasional, it's the job description. The diesel Hilux, particularly the D4D engines, will run for 500,000 miles like it's nothing. I'm not exaggerating for effect here. There are documented cases of these trucks in Africa, Australia, and the Middle East with odometers that have rolled over multiple times. There's a reason insurgents, aid workers, farmers, and adventurers all choose the same truck. When your life literally depends on your vehicle starting in the middle of nowhere, you don't pick something unreliable. Now, here's where it gets interesting for budget-conscious buyers. Because the Hilux wasn't officially sold in the States, you're looking at the gray market or importing one if you're in North America. But for those in markets where these were sold new, you're looking at pickup truck nirvana. Prices vary wildly depending on your location, but generally you can find solid examples from the mid-2000s ranging from $8,000 to $15,000, which I know sounds higher than the Aveo, but stick with me because the value proposition here is completely different. This isn't just transportation, this is a tool that holds its value better than most investments. A well-maintained Hilux depreciates slower than basically any other vehicle on the planet. Buy one today for $12,000, take care of it for 5 years, and you'll sell it for probably $12,000, maybe more if you're in the right market. It's like a savings account that you can drive and that helps you move furniture on weekends. But let's get real about what you need to watch out for, because even legends have their kryptonite. First, and absolutely most critical, the diesel particulate filter on models from around 2006 onwards. This is the Achilles heel of an otherwise bulletproof truck.
If the previous owner did lots of short trips and city driving, that DPF can clog up, and replacement isn't cheap. We're talking potentially $1,500 to $2,500 for a new one. When you're inspecting a Hilux, ask about DPF regeneration issues. Check if the warning light comes on. And ideally, look for trucks that live their life doing longer journeys or highway miles. The DPF loves heat and hates short stop-start driving. Second checkpoint, and this is crucial, check the frame for rust and cracks, especially if you're looking at trucks from regions with salted roads. The Hilux body will outlast civilization, but the frame can rust if it's been exposed to salt and wasn't properly undercoated. Get underneath with a flashlight and really inspect the chassis rails, particularly around the rear suspension mounts and anywhere there are welds. A rusty frame is a deal breaker, no matter how good the rest of the truck looks. Third thing to examine is the turbo on diesel models. These turbos are generally solid, but they're not invincible. Listen for excessive whistle or smoke on acceleration. A little black smoke on a diesel is normal when you floor it, but constant smoke or blue smoke means oil burning, and that could indicate turbo seal failure. A turbo rebuild will set you back around $1,000 to $1,800, so factor that into your negotiation if you spot issues. Here's what makes the Hilux absolutely mind-blowing for someone who needs a reliable workhorse. The parts availability is insane because these trucks are literally everywhere except mainstream America. Need a water pump in the middle of nowhere? Someone nearby has one. Need a clutch? Every mechanic has done 1,000 of them. And here's the beautiful part. Because the Hilux stayed relatively unchanged for years, parts from different model years often interchange, which keeps costs down and availability high. The fuel economy on the diesel models is genuinely impressive for a truck. You're looking at real-world figures around 25 to 30 miles per gallon, which for a proper 4-drive pickup truck is basically witchcraft. Meanwhile, gas-guzzling alternatives are out here getting 15 miles per gallon and crying at every pump. I want to tell you about something I witnessed firsthand. I once saw a Hilux that had been used for commercial fishing, which means it spent years being loaded with wet, salty cargo, driven on beach sand, and generally treated like a rented mule. The odometer showed 380,000 miles. The owner said he'd replaced the clutch twice, the brake pads, obviously, and had done regular oil changes. That was it. The original engine, original transmission, still pulling boats out of the water like it was brand new. That's not an exception with the Hilux. That's literally the standard experience. So here's what you need to understand. The Hilux isn't just reliable in the "it probably won't break down" sense. It's reliable in the "you could drive this across a continent with nothing but spare fuel and it'll get you there." It's the difference between a car that's dependable and a vehicle that's genuinely unstoppable. Yes, it costs more upfront than an Aveo, but you're not buying a car. You're buying a piece of equipment that will work harder than you do and never complain about it. For someone who needs a truck, who actually uses a truck for truck things, or who just wants the peace of mind knowing their vehicle is more reliable than their internet connection, the Hilux is worth every single penny. It's the vehicular equivalent of that one friend who shows up every time you need help moving, never complains, and is somehow always available. Except this friend can carry a ton of cargo and will still be helping people move in the year 2050.
All right, from the truck that survives literal war zones, let's talk about the car that's probably survived your daily commute for the last 2 decades and is still begging for more. The Honda Civic from 2000 to 2012. And I'm just gonna say it, this might be the single smartest purchase anyone on a budget can make. Period, full stop, end of discussion. And before you roll your eyes thinking, oh great, another boring Civic recommendation, let me tell you about my neighbor's nephew who bought one with 215,000 miles for $2,800, drove it for 4 years without doing anything except oil changes, then sold it for $2,500. He basically got paid to drive a Honda Civic. That's not a car, that's a magic trick. Here's what makes the Civic from this era absolutely untouchable in the reliability game. Honda took everything they learned from decades of building bulletproof engines and decided to create something so dependable that it actually became boring. And that's the highest praise I can give a car. The K-Series and D-Series engines in these Civics are so over-engineered that mechanics literally get bored working on them because they never see major failures. I'm talking about engines that hit 300,000 miles and the biggest issue is maybe a worn motor mount. That's it.
Not head gaskets, not timing chains grenading themselves, not transmissions imploding. Just smooth, quiet, relentless reliability that makes Swiss watches look unreliable. Now let's get into the generations, because this 12-year span covers 3 distinct Civic eras, and they're all phenomenal, but for slightly different reasons. The 7th generation, from 2001 to 2005, is what I call the sweet spot Civic. These are still simple enough that any shade tree mechanic can work on them. Parts are everywhere and dirt cheap, and the styling has aged surprisingly well. You see one on the road today and it doesn't scream, "I'm ancient," it just quietly blends in while secretly being the most reliable thing in traffic. Then you've got the 8th generation, from 2006 to 2011, which is where Honda went a bit spaceship with the design. That dashboard looks like something from a sci-fi movie, and honestly, I love it. These models introduced some of the best fuel economy figures Honda ever achieved. We're talking 30 city, 40 highway in real-world driving. I know people who hypermile these things and get 45 miles per gallon without even trying that hard. In an era where gas prices swing wildly, that kind of efficiency is literally money in your pocket every single week. The 9th generation kicked off in 2012, and while it's technically the newest in our range, it carries forward all that legendary Honda dependability while adding modern safety features and updated tech. These are the ones you'll find more commonly available, and they're still priced reasonably because, well, everyone knows they're reliable, but they're not flashy enough to command premium prices. Here's where the Civic becomes an absolute no-brainer financially. You can find clean examples with reasonable mileage from the early 2000s for $3,000 to $6,000. Mid-generation models from 2006 to 2009 run about $5,000 to $9,000. And even the 2010 to 2012 models are sitting in that $7,000 to $12,000 range. But here's the kicker. Insurance is cheap because it's a Civic, not a sports car. Parts are so abundant you can basically order anything overnight from 17 different suppliers. And maintenance? It's so straightforward that YouTube University graduates are doing their own work and saving thousands. But I'm not here to just sing praises, so let's talk about the reality check you need before buying one of these. First major concern, and this is critical for the automatic transmission models, specifically the 2001 to 2005 Civics with the 4-speed automatic. These transmissions can be problematic if they weren't maintained with regular fluid changes. When you're test driving, pay close attention to how it shifts, especially from first to second gear. Any shuddering, slipping, or hesitation is a massive red flag. If the seller can't produce records of transmission fluid changes every 30,000 miles, either negotiate hard or walk away. The manual Civics, though, zero issues. Honda's manual gearboxes are legendary, and if you can drive stick, that's your golden ticket to worry-free ownership. Second point you absolutely must inspect is the suspension components, particularly the lower control arm bushings and ball joints. These are wear items on any car, but on Civics that have lived in areas with rough roads or winter conditions, they wear faster. Jack up the car and grab the wheel at 3 and 9 o'clock and shake it. Any clunking or excessive play means those components need replacement. It's not a deal breaker because the parts are cheap and the labor isn't terrible, but it gives you negotiating power. Budget may be $400 to $700 if everything needs replacing, which is still peanuts compared to what you'd spend on most other cars. Third inspection point, and this might sound minor, but it matters, check the air conditioner compressor. The AC compressors in these generations can fail, and while it's not a reliability issue in terms of the car running, nobody wants to suffer through summer in a car with no AC. Turn it on, make sure it blows cold, listen for any weird noises from under the hood. A compressor replacement runs about $500 to $800, so again, negotiating ammunition if it's not working. Now here's what elevates the Civic from just good to absolutely brilliant for budget buyers. The aftermarket support is insane. I'm talking every single possible part you could ever need is available from multiple manufacturers at competitive prices. Need brake pads? You've got options from budget-friendly to premium performance, all readily available. Need a headlight assembly? $20 online. This isn't some obscure European car where a mirror costs $400. This is a Civic where competition keeps prices reasonable and availability high. The fuel economy alone will save you enough money over a year to basically cover your insurance costs. Think about that. while someone with a gas-guzzling SUV is spending an extra $150 to $200 a month on gas, you're pocketing that money. Over a year, that's $1,800 to $2,400 in savings. That's not insignificant when you're on a tight budget. That's vacation money, emergency fund money, or just breathing room in your monthly expenses. Here's a real story that perfectly encapsulates the Honda Civic ownership experience. A friend of mine bought a 2004 Civic with 180,000 miles for $3,500 6 years ago. In those 6 years, he's put on another 120,000 miles. His maintenance costs have been oil changes, 1 set of tires, brake pads twice, and a battery. That's it. No engine work, no transmission rebuilds, no electrical gremlins. Just boring, predictable, wallet-friendly ownership. He calculated that including purchase price and all maintenance, his per-mile cost of ownership is about 11 cents. Try finding that deal anywhere else. The Civic doesn't care about your drama, your financial stress, or your terrible parking skills. It just starts every morning, gets you where you're going, sips fuel like it's rationing for the apocalypse, and asks for nothing in return except regular oil changes. It's not trying to impress anyone, it's not making bold statements about your personality, and it's definitely not going to bankrupt you with surprise repair bills. What it is doing is quietly being the most sensible financial decision you'll make this year, possibly this decade. And sometimes, especially when money's tight and life's complicated, sensible is exactly what wins.
Now, after talking about the Civic, you might be thinking, what could possibly compete with that? Well, let me introduce you to the car that everyone overlooks, and that's precisely why it's such an incredible value. The Nissan Sentra from 2005 to 2014, the automotive world's best-kept secret. While everyone's fighting over Civics and Corollas, driving their prices up, the Sentra is sitting there like, hey, I do literally everything they do, I cost way less, and I'm just as reliable. But nobody's paying attention. And you know what? That's perfect for us, because it means more money stays in your wallet. Here's the thing about Nissan during this era that people forget. They were building cars with the same obsessive Japanese quality control that made Toyota and Honda famous, but they were the underdog brand, which means they had to try harder. The result? You get a car that's engineered to last, but priced like nobody believes it will. It's like finding designer jeans at a thrift store because someone didn't recognize the label. Their loss, your gain. Let's talk about what's under the hood, because this is where the Sentra really shines. The 2.0-liter 4-cylinder engine that powers most of these is part of Nissan's MR engine family, and these things are absolute tanks. They're not exciting, they're not powerful enough to get you in trouble, but they will run forever if you treat them halfway decent. I'm talking engines that routinely see 250,000 miles without needing major work. Just regular maintenance, which by the way is stupid cheap on these cars, and you're golden for years and years of dependable transportation. The 6th generation Sentra from 2007 to 2012 is probably my favorite of this bunch. Nissan really nailed the sweet spot between modern features and simplicity during these years. You get comfortable seats that don't feel like you're sitting on plywood, a decent amount of interior space that makes it feel bigger than it actually is, and build quality that honestly puts some more expensive cars to shame. These Sentras feel solid. Close the door and you hear that satisfying thunk of a well-built car, not the tinny rattle of something cheap. And can we talk about the fuel economy for a second? Because this is where the Sentra absolutely embarrasses bigger, more expensive vehicles. You're looking at real-world numbers around 28 to 30 miles per gallon in city driving and pushing 35 to 38 on the highway. That's Prius territory without the complicated hybrid system that costs a fortune to fix when it eventually goes wrong. The Sentra just uses good old-fashioned efficient engineering to achieve those numbers, which means there's nothing exotic to break. Now here's where it gets really interesting from a value perspective. Because the Sentra doesn't have the cult following of a Civic or the legendary status of a Corolla, you can find these for absolute steals. A clean 2007 to 2010 model with under 100,000 miles, you're looking at $4,000 to $7,000. Compare that to a Civic from the same year with similar mileage that'll cost you $2,000 to $3,000 more, and suddenly the Sentra looks like the smartest kid in class that nobody invited to the party. But I promised you the real talk, so let's discuss what you absolutely need to watch for. First, and this is the big one,
the continuously variable transmission, or CVT, in models from 2007 onwards. Now, before you panic, let me explain. Nissan's early CVTs had some issues. There's no sugarcoating that. But here's what you need to know. If the CVT has been maintained properly with fluid changes every 30 to 40,000 miles, they're actually pretty reliable. The problem is most people don't even know CVT fluid needs changing because some dealer somewhere told them it's lifetime fluid, which is complete nonsense. When you're looking at a Sentra with a CVT, ask for service records. If they can show you regular CVT fluid changes, you're probably fine. If they look at you confused and say, CVT fluid? Be very cautious. During the test drive, accelerate moderately and listen for any whining, shuddering, or hesitation. The CVT should be smooth and nearly invisible in operation. Any weirdness and you either negotiate hard or move on, because the CVT replacement is $3,000 to $4,000, which defeats the whole point of buying a budget car. Here's your second checkpoint, and this is actually an easy fix, but important to note. The mass airflow sensor on these Sentras can get dirty or fail, causing rough idling, poor fuel economy, or check engine lights. The good news, it's a $50 part that takes 10 minutes to replace, or you can even clean it with MAF sensor cleaner for about $12. If the car you're looking at has a check engine light on, have them scan the code. If it's the MAF sensor, that's actually good news because it means you found an easy fix that gives you negotiating power. Third thing to inspect, the motor mounts. This isn't unique to the Sentra, but these cars were often used as economy commuters, which means lots of stop-and-go traffic, and that wears motor mounts. Worn motor mounts create vibration at idle and clunking when you accelerate or brake. Pop the hood while the engine's running and have someone shift from park to drive and back. If you see excessive engine movement or hear clunking, the mounts need replacing. It's not a crisis. Parts are maybe $150 to $200 for all of them, but again, it's leverage for negotiation. Now let me tell you why the Sentra is genuinely brilliant for someone who needs maximum car for minimum money. The interior space is legitimately impressive. You can fit 4 adults comfortably, the trunk is huge for a compact car, and the back seat has actual legroom that doesn't require your passengers to be contortionists. I've seen people move apartments with these things. You fold down those rear seats and suddenly you've got a surprisingly versatile cargo hauler. The parts availability is fantastic because Nissan sold millions of these globally. Need a headlight? $12 online. Brake pads? $25. Air filter? $8. We're talking about ownership costs that are so low it's almost comical. And because mechanics are familiar with these cars, labor costs stay reasonable too. Nobody's scratching their head trying to figure out some weird European engineering quirk. It's straightforward Japanese reliability. Now here's a real-world scenario that happened to someone I know. They bought a 2008 Sentra with 95,000 miles for $5,200 3 years ago. In those 3 years, they've added 75,000 miles, so we're now at 170,000 total. Their maintenance costs? Oil changes, obviously, a set of tires, front brake pads, and a battery. That's literally it. The car has been so reliable that they forgot what it's like to worry about transportation. They calculated their monthly cost of ownership, including the purchase price averaged out, and it comes to about $215 a month. That's less than most people's phone bills. The Sentra represents something really important in the budget car world. It's proof that you don't have to buy the most popular option to get quality and reliability. Sometimes the smart money is on the car that everyone else walks past because they're too busy chasing brand names. The Sentra does everything you need a car to do. Costs less to buy than its competitors, costs less to insure, costs less to maintain, and will likely last just as long if you take care of it. This is a car for people who understand that transportation is about getting from point A to point B reliably and affordably, not about impressing strangers at red lights. It's for people who'd rather have extra money in their bank account than extra badges on their trunk. And honestly, in a world where financial stress is real and living costs keep climbing, choosing the sensible option that saves you thousands isn't boring. It's actually kind of genius.
All right, we've reached the final car on this list. And if you've been waiting for me to mention the Corolla, congratulations, you already know what reliability looks like. But here's the plot twist. I saved this one for last, not because it's the best, but because it's the most predictable choice. And sometimes predictable is exactly what you need when your bank account is begging for mercy.
the Toyota Corolla from 2005 to 2014, the car that's so reliable it's basically become a meme, and every single joke about it is absolutely true. Let me start with something that'll put this car's reputation into perspective. There are Corollas from this era being used as taxis in places where roads are more like suggestions than actual paved surfaces, racking up 500,000 miles, and they're still running. There are Corollas that have been passed down through 3 generations of the same family, and they're still on the original engine and transmission. There's probably a Corolla somewhere that's achieved sentience and is planning its retirement, and it'll still be running when it gets there. This car doesn't just defy the odds, it laughs at them. Now, what makes the Corolla from this generation the absolute gold standard for budget reliability? It starts with Toyota's philosophy of, if it's not broken, don't fix it, and even if you think you can improve it, maybe don't, because what we have works perfectly. The engines in these Corollas, particularly the 1.8-liter 4-cylinder, are engineering masterpieces disguised as boring appliances. They're so well-balanced, so perfectly designed, that they basically don't wear out under normal use. I'm talking about engines that hit 300,000 miles, and the mechanic opens them up out of curiosity and finds wear patterns that look like the car only has 50,000 miles. The 9th generation Corolla from 2003 to 2008 is what I call the peak simplicity era. These cars are so straightforward that you could probably fix most issues with a basic tool set and a YouTube video. There's no complicated electronics, no fancy turbochargers, no dual-clutch transmissions that require an engineering degree to understand. It's just honest, pure, mechanical simplicity that translates directly into reliability. And you know what the beautiful part is? Simple means cheap to fix when something eventually does need attention. Then you've got the 10th generation from 2009 to 2013, which brought more refinement and slightly better fuel economy while maintaining that legendary Corolla dependability. These feel more modern, the interiors are nicer, and they added some tech features that actually work and don't break. But underneath all that, it's still the same philosophy. Build it right, build it to last, don't overthink it. Here's where the Corolla separates itself from everything else we've talked about: resale value. This car holds its value better than almost anything in the compact segment because everyone knows what it is and what it represents. Buy a 2008 Corolla today for $6,500, drive it for 3 years, and you'll probably sell it for $5,000 or more. That's insane depreciation protection for a car this old. Meanwhile, other brands from the same era have turned into financial black holes, but the Corolla, it's basically a savings bond with wheels. Fuel economy on these is exactly what you'd expect from Toyota: exceptional. Real-world numbers sit around 28 to 32 miles per gallon in mixed driving, and if you're mostly highway, you're easily hitting 35 to 38. Over a year of ownership, that efficiency adds up to serious money saved. We're talking potentially $1,000 to $1,500 compared to driving something less efficient, and that's money that stays in your pocket for things that actually matter. Now, the Corolla is legendary for reliability, but that doesn't mean you can ignore everything when buying one. Let me give you the reality check on what to inspect. First thing, and this might surprise you, check for oil consumption on models from around 2009 to 2013. Some of these engines had an issue where they'd burn oil between changes. It's not common, but it exists. Pull the dipstick, check the oil level, and ask the owner if they've had to add oil between changes. If they're adding a quart every 1,000 miles, that's a problem. Toyota even extended warranties on some VINs for this issue, so you can actually check with a dealer if a specific car was affected. Second checkpoint, and this is crucial, inspect the suspension components carefully. The Corolla is so reliable mechanically that it often gets driven into the ground with deferred maintenance on everything else. Check the struts by pushing down hard on each corner of the car. If it bounces more than once or twice, the struts are worn. Listen for clunking over bumps, which indicates worn sway bar links or bushings. None of this is expensive to fix, maybe $600 to $800 for a full suspension refresh, but it's negotiating leverage, and it tells you how well the car was maintained overall. Third thing, examine the paint and body carefully.
especially on the hood and roof. Some Corollas from this era, particularly certain colors, had issues with clear coat failure. You'll see it as hazy, cloudy areas or peeling clear coat. It's purely cosmetic and doesn't affect reliability, but it does affect resale value and how the car looks. If you don't care about perfect paint, this can actually work in your favor for negotiating price down. Here's what elevates the Corolla to legendary status beyond just the mechanical reliability. The ownership experience is completely drama-free. You wake up, you get in, it starts, you drive, you arrive, every single day. There's no anxiety about whether it'll start in winter, no worrying about weird noises developing, no surprise check engine lights that send you into financial panic. It just works, day after day, year after year, with the kind of consistency that's genuinely rare in the automotive world. Parts availability is ridiculous. I mean this in the best way possible. You can get Corolla parts anywhere, anytime, often for prices that seem too good to be true. Need an alternator? $45 online, and every auto parts store has it in stock. Headlight assembly? $30. The aftermarket for Corolla parts is so competitive that prices stay dirt cheap. And because every mechanic has worked on thousands of these, labor rates stay reasonable too. Insurance costs are another massive win. Because the Corolla is seen as a responsible, safe choice, insurance companies reward you with lower premiums. It's not flashy enough to attract thieves, it's not powerful enough to encourage speeding tickets, and the safety ratings are solid. All of this translates to cheaper insurance, which over years of ownership adds up to thousands in savings. Let me share one final story that perfectly captures Corolla ownership. A coworker of mine inherited his grandmother's 2006 Corolla with 140,000 miles 7 years ago. His grandmother's maintenance routine consisted of taking it to the dealer when the light came on and letting them do whatever they recommended. That was it. No special care, no obsessive maintenance, just following the manual. 7 years later, that car now has 265,000 miles. In those 125,000 miles, he's replaced the battery once, done brakes twice, replaced tires obviously, and had to fix one window regulator. The engine? Perfect. Transmission? Flawless. It's still his daily driver, and he's genuinely convinced it'll outlast him. So here's the final word on the Corolla. Is it exciting? Absolutely not. Will it make your heart race? Only if you're late for work and you realize it's never let you down, so you might actually make it on time for once. Is it the smartest purchase you can make if you need reliable, affordable transportation? Without question. The Corolla is what happens when a car company decides that reliability isn't a feature, it's the entire mission. And for someone who doesn't have thousands to gamble on repairs, that mission is worth everything.
So there you have it, 5 incredible cars that prove you don't need a fortune to own something reliable. The Aveo for ultimate budget basics, the Hilux for unstoppable truck utility, the Civic for smart efficiency, the Sentra for underrated value, and the Corolla for legendary peace of mind. Each one of these will serve you faithfully without draining your bank account, and honestly, that's what real freedom looks like. Now here's what I want you to do. If this video helped you, if you learned something valuable, or if you're planning to hunt down one of these cars now, smash that like button, because it tells me you want more content like this. Drop a comment and tell me which car you're going with, or if you already own one of these, share your mileage and your experience, because that helps other people make confident decisions. And if you're serious about making smart car choices and saving money, subscribe and hit that notification bell, because I'm breaking down more budget beasts, maintenance tips, and car buying strategies that'll keep more money in your pocket where it belongs. Remember, being broke doesn't mean being stuck with unreliable junk. It means being smart enough to know where the real value hides. Now get out there and find your perfect budget warrior. I'll see you in the next one.